Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Kirsta. Today is day 8 of the Three Rivers Challenge. So I am doing a pantry challenge, which you have probably heard about in my last couple of videos. Pretty much the month of January is going to be very much centered around this challenge. So a lot of my videos in this month will be geared towards the challenge. So if you hear me saying day, whatever, it's because we are in the eating from our pantry challenge. So today is day 8 and I have a couple meals planned that I'm super excited about. So for breakfast today, because it is Sunday morning, I typically make a off my normal routine breakfast. Normally for breakfast every day, I have a little bit of granola with some frozen fruit that I've thawed out and topped with a little bit of yogurt. So normally that is my breakfast every single day, but Sundays I usually switch it up and I make something either that will get us through the week for breakfasts or just something special because I really like having a special breakfast on Sunday. So today I am going to be making one of my childhood favorites, which is crepes. When we were a kid, we ate an abundance of crepes. And I don't know if it's because they're a very economical thing to make and it was easy for my mom to make it. I'm not sure, but we ate it a lot when we were kids and I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna make that for breakfast today with you guys and show you how I make it. For supper tonight, I am planning on making what's my family calls an old-fashioned beef stew. This is the recipe right here. See how worn it is. I can actually barely even read some of the instructions. This is a recipe that I remember as, again, I guess today is a nostalgic day for me because this is another one of my childhood favorite recipes. Sunday, again, was always centered around, I guess, more of a bigger meal. I'm not sure. Sunday night, I thought, at least, I remember, my memory could be very jarred, but I remember having more of a bigger meal on Sunday. So we are going to make beef stew tonight for supper. I have the stew beef in here thawing out. This is one of my absolute favorite meals. I just love the heartiness of it. I love just kind of being able to put it on the stove, let it do its thing. Well, I can kind of do my thing on Sunday. It's perfect. Now, Stephen isn't a super fan of stew, so I'm hoping I can kind of win him over with this one because I don't think I've actually made this one for him yet. It's kind of been tucked away because he's always told me I don't like stew, so I've never bothered to make it. But today I said, hey, we have stew beef in that freezer that's got to get used up. I am making a beef stew because I am craving it. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, there are actually a couple of things on here that I do not have, or that I don't even keep stocked. Like shortening is on here because you're going to fry that beef up, and I don't have shortening, so I'm going to sub it for butter. It also calls for turnips. I unfortunately don't have any turnips. And then it also calls for 3 medium potatoes. Now I have only 3 tiny little potatoes left in my pantry, so I'm thinking that I might try to put a can of potatoes in with this. We'll see. Play it by ear. Again, we're going to make this work to what we have in our pantry and we're going to use up what we have. So let's get started. I actually made a batch of, let me put that recipe down for a minute. I made a batch of yogurt yesterday in my Instapot, and you have to let it rest in the fridge overnight. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to get this into my containers. I make a batch of yogurt once a week, and then that's what I eat every week with my granola. As I had said earlier, I eat yogurt with my granola every single morning. So I make up a batch once a week, and that's what I use through the week. I actually showed you guys a little bit yesterday on my Instagram. All as I use, because I've been making it a while, is I use a batch, like I used 2 tablespoons for my previous batch to make my next batch, but my last couple batches have been really runny. I don't necessarily like the thickness of a Greek yogurt. I do like Greek yogurt, but that's not what I make usually. And the last couple batches have been really, really, really runny. I don't know if it was the milk or the starter that I was using. So I went and bought a regular yogurt to kind of freshen up my yogurt batch. So hopefully it helps thicken it up. I can just kind of tell by looking at it, it's a thicker yogurt, which is perfect. So there's the yogurt right there. And I just put it in these little mason jars. I actually got these at Dollar General. They're got little bees on them. I absolutely love them. But they are a super thin jar, so you can't actually safely can with them. But I love to store my yogurt in it. And yeah, they're really cute. So this, I want to bring you guys down so you can see a little bit better. So normally the whey is on the bottom. This one actually doesn't have it. This is a super gorgeous thickness. Now if I wanted to leave it thick like this, I would just scoop it into here. But usually what I do, and this is all just cream that's sitting on the top, usually what I do is I just whisk it up a bit. There we go. And that is about the thickness that I like. So you see how but me stirring it up changed the thickness of it? Just fine. So I'm just gonna pour this into here. So I don't know if you guys can see it because I can't see it, but we have a hawk that has been living. It must have a nest somewhere out here, but he has been kind of hanging around my garden area lately and over by where we actually have our grapes. I don't know where he is, but I can hear him. Oh, there he is in the field. You guys can't see. I think he just caught something, but I have been hearing him all morning, and my chickens are right over here. So I have been like freaking out the last couple of days. We have already had one predator attack. I think he got something. I don't think I can get the camera to zoom all the way over there. Yeah, it won't zoom in close enough, but he is way over there. He is a fairly big guy. I have been watching him the last couple of, he's been here for about 2 weeks. Steven noticed him over by the grapes one day and said, hey, there's I think the red-tail hawks. We have quite a few around here. That is the other reason why my chickens do not free range, because we have a lot of hawks. And like I said before, we have already had one predator attack. I think it got 2 of my chickens. So what we've done in the meantime is we have actually put a bird netting over top of the chicken run. And with egg prices the way they are right now, no hawk is gonna get one of my laying hens. So I am kind of on like security guard mode, watching that hawk, making sure he doesn't go near. One morning, I think it was like 2 days ago, I went out to actually feed the chickens, and he was sitting on our horse barn, just kind of watching them. Now I know that they really can't get in because that bird netting is, I mean, I went a little overboard with it. So fingers crossed. I don't want to say can't, because now that I've said that, the day the hawk actually got the chicken was, we did not have any roosters in that coop. So that was one of the very first things I did, was went and got a rooster so that they're a little bit more protected. If you see me looking out here, it's because my window is right here, and I am just looking out to watch the chickens and make sure he doesn't really go near them, because I have to be pretty diligent with going out and scaring him away. This is kind of how we're doing our bird control. So anyways, oh, that's my timer. The other thing that I'm doing right now is I am making my sourdough. I got it all prepped last night, and so I am making a loaf of sourdough so that we can have that with our beef stew tonight. So I just need to actually get that into the oven right now. Other thing I need to do is get my coffee. I've not had that yet. So I have been off of coffee for I don't know, maybe 7 days since the sickness has started. So yesterday I had my first cup of coffee and felt so good. I am actually planning on trying to wean myself off of coffee. I've been noticing it more and more and more that I get a lot of inflammation when I drink coffee. So what I am going to try to do, and you will see in my upcoming Azure standard haul, is I am actually trying to kind of go off of coffee and have a yerba mate, I believe it's called. I'm trying to have that every morning. So I ordered some of that, but I'll show you guys on my Azure standard haul. I go and pick it up on Tuesday. Okay. Coffee. That hawk is being very aggressive out there. This is my new mug. I actually got this at a thrift store when we were in Canada during the Christmas break. Love this mug. It's like, I love mugs that I can just like go like this with my hands. Helps warm me up. So coffee's ready now. So I'm just going to use one of these. It's just a big 8-cup measuring cup. And I like it because it's got a spout, and with crepes, you kind of need to act quick with crepes. And you'll see when I make them, and I love it because I can just pour it. So we're going to make it in here. You know what? I am actually going to... I'm not going to double it because this is all the milk I have to get me through to Wednesday. I don't know if I said it in my very first video, but with my pantry challenge, one of my rules, because that's the amazing thing with this pantry challenge, is that you can make the rules to what suit your life. So for me, I don't have a dairy cow, so I don't have access to fresh milk. Milk is an essential part of my diet. I don't want to substitute it for any nut milk because I found that that also causes my body a lot of inflammation. So I like sticking with milk. So what I have done is I have allowed, one of my rules is that I am allowing myself a gallon of milk a week and cream. So yesterday I went and picked up some milk. Because I wasn't feeling well last week, I didn't get out to the Amish to pick up my milk, so I needed to go and get some yesterday. I pay $5 a week for a gallon of milk. That is what I pay for raw milk, and that is what I pay if I go to my local creamery and pick it up. That's how I'm working it. I don't know if I had mentioned that in any of my other videos, any of my pantry videos, but that is one of my rules. I am, at this point, I've kind of decided that I'm not going to go and pick up fresh produce. It may change. I don't know. I don't know, because I really do want to be using what's in my freezer, and I feel if I give myself an exception to go and pick up fresh produce, that I'm going to end up not using what I have in my freezer. So at this point, I'm saying no fresh produce, just milk. So 1.5 cups of flour is going to go into here. And then we're going to add 1 cup of milk. We're going to add 2 eggs. This recipe is like really good because you can either choose to use it as a savory or a sweet meal. You can stuff them, like if you want to make it for dinner, you can stuff it with meat. And then for me, like in the morning, jam. I roll it in jam, and I'll show you how I prepare mine, but I do jam, and Steven, a lot of times, he does like a cream cheese and a hot sauce in his, so you can use them interchangeably to sweet or savory. So we're just going to give this a stir. And you can, I don't know if you guys can see, but it is very lumpy, and that is normal because we are going to add more milk to this. Okay, and then to this we are going to stir in 3 tablespoons of melted butter, a tablespoon of white sugar. I'm just using a granulated white sugar. And then it says a dash of vanilla. I like a lot of vanilla, so it's up to you. If your heart says to use a lot, then put in a lot. Okay, and so we're just going to give this another stir, and it says to stir it until smooth. Now, it's not going to get super smooth. does have some lumps in it, which is fine. I probably should be using a whisk also. That would help to get it a little smoother, but it's fine. Okay, and then we're gonna add in another cup of milk. So 1 more cup of milk. It is a very, 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 very runny batter. By having a runny batter, you help get them nice and thin, which is what you want, because when you pour it in, you want to make sure that you're getting that. And I'll show you my technique that I use. But you want to make sure that you're getting it spread thin. I am using coconut oil for the bottom of the pans here. I am going to turn them both on to medium, and I just have 2 cast iron pans. So we're just going to put a little bit of coconut oil on the bottom here. Now you can use butter, you can use ghee, you can use anything like that. So we're just going to get it to melt. That coconut oil is melted. I'm just putting these. I got these at the Corningware outlet. I think it was in Florida. I can see if I can find them on Amazon and link them for you. They're just a Lodge thing, but I put them on my cast iron so that they're not hot to hold. Okay, so the coconut oil is melted, and you kind of have to move quickly with this. So I'm going to take the cast iron, and I'm just going to pick it up, and I'm just going to pour this, and as I'm pouring, I am just moving it around. So that's good for this one, and I just want to make sure that I'm coating the bottom in a thin layer. I'm going to do the same for this one. I'm just spreading this oil out a bit. There. And you don't cook them very long because they are super thin. You don't want to get a super thick layer, but you see how it's getting bubbles. This is kind of starting to cook on the sides. You just kind of want to watch that. And once it looks like it's all cooked through, then you are going to flip them. So all I'm doing is taking the spatula and I'm just releasing it and flipping it. Just making sure that it's all on one. You know, the very first one that you always do is not going to be a perfect one. Oh, that's what they look like once they've been flipped. So I'm just getting a plate to put them on once they are flipped. I'm just going to rest them on the plate here. That one's done. You don't want to overcook them because you don't want a crunchy crepe. You want to be able to roll the crepe, so you don't want to overcook them too much. And as my cast irons start to get hot, I start to turn the heat down because I don't want, again, to burn or overcook them. Once these things start getting hot, it starts to get quick. You can't really walk away from them. Stephen just let me know that he is out of his coffee creamer, so I am making him a quick batch of coffee creamer. And I am using the shortcut version. I'm using the canned condensed milk. Just doing this while I'm waiting for those to cook. I do have a video showing you guys how I make this, and it also shows you how to make your own condensed milk. But because I said I'm kind of short on regular milk, I don't want to make my own condensed milk today. So I'm just going to use this extra can that I have. Okay, so we got our last crepe on right now. Oh, I need milk. Do you ever notice when you're like running low on something, your recipe calls for like the most of it? Add milk to this, dashes of vanilla. And then I saved an old bottle like this and I just going to pour it in here. Okay, the last one is all done and it is crunchier than I would like, but that's fine. So that's how much that made. I'm going to get these cast irons cleaned up because I like to clean them right away after I use them. I need to get this put into here. Then I'm going to make some scrambled eggs also to have with the crepes. Now, I just want to add that those crepes are not a sweet crepe. It does have a tablespoon of sugar in it, but they don't taste sweet. If you wanted more of a sweeter tasting crepe, then just add more sugar to the actual batter. But like I said, those crepes are interchangeable. You can use them with sweet or savory. That's why I make them that way. And that much made about that much coffee creamer. So that'll be good for him for a week. And then I will make some more sweetened condensed milk so that I can make another one. I don't know, I think that would probably last him about a week. I don't know, I don't drink it. So I'm gonna make some scrambled eggs, and I have some half and half cream that's actually gonna go bad tomorrow. So I'm gonna use that in the scrambled eggs instead of just using my milk. Just quickly get these made up, and then we'll have some breakfast. That's a bad egg. That's a bad egg. Ooh, is that a bad egg? Ooh. Oh! Guys, that is a point in case on why you always crack in a separate bowl. So I'm gonna get a little bowl out. That was a horrible smell. Okay, let's get these scrambled eggs started. I'm just gonna melt a little butter on the bottom of this pan. Ooh, we have this brown sugar vanilla banana butter. That might taste good on one also. I canned this stuff up this year, and it's almost like an ice cream topping. It is super delicious. It's got walnuts in it, bananas. I'll show you guys if I can get it open here. See, there's a walnut right there. It is very, very, very sweet. It is so sweet. Like, I don't know if I've necessarily have this on like toast, but it's good. Now with crepes, I don't usually just do the standard butter and syrup. You definitely can. I like to put jam in mine and roll it up. So let's I'll show you how I get mine made. So I just take the crepe, I put a little bit of butter on it. To me, crepes are kind of just like a flat pancake that you roll up. Super delish. So maybe this one we will do a banana one. So then I just take my jam and just spread it around like this. Remember, this does have chunks of walnuts in it, so that's what you're seeing there. Then I just take it and roll it up. There you go, you got a crepe. I think the next one I will do raspberry jam. Okay, there we go. And then I think my last one I will put this maple butter on it. So super excited, and then I'm gonna put some eggs on my plate. So that is breakfast for, what did I say, day 8. So once I'm done eating this breakfast, I will come back and we will get started getting the beef stew ready so that it can cook all day. I love the smell of the house when you cook with beef stew. So I will see you guys back after I'm done eating. Okay, we just finished breakfast. It's almost noon now, and I realize I really need to get this stew on the go because it takes about 5 hours or so to cook. I'm grabbing an onion, which, as you can tell, it has sprouted. I have a lot of onions in here that are sprouting. I'm gonna have to do something with them. So we are using 1 onion today for the stew, so I'm gonna use this one. We've got our stew beef right here. What we have to do is coat this stew beef with some flour, salt, and pepper, and we need to get it seared. So all I do is I just take a Ziploc baggie. I actually reuse my Ziploc baggies, but I won't after this. I'm gonna add some flour, salt, and pepper to this, and then I'm gonna slowly take each piece of stew beef, just put it in here, shake it, and then I am going to put it into a cast iron over here. And then this recipe does call for shortening to fry it in, but like I said, I don't have shortening, and I don't even have lard, which I really, really, really wish I had some lard, but I don't. So what I'm going to use is just some butter. This recipe calls for about 2 pounds of stew beef. I don't know how many we have here. Well, this is a pound in here, and this doesn't have a weight on it. So I'm guessing we have approximately 2 pounds. I'm gonna get the flour and the salt and pepper in here before my hands get all covered in beef. So it says about half a cup of flour. This is obviously more than half a cup. I would say that's about 3/4 cup. And then we're gonna add some salt and pepper. It says 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Just breaking it up a bit. And then putting it in the bag here. Get it all coated. I'm gonna get this cast iron hot. I have it about a medium. This is really, really small stew beef. Like really small pieces. That's disappointing. When I was younger, stew beef used to be one of the cheapest cuts of meat you could get. So having a beef stew was a very, very, very economical thing to have. But now I find that stew beef is so expensive. I don't know why it's expensive, because it's usually just the kind of the byproduct of a lot of other cuts. It's just like the scraps, but this is like, look at how small these pieces are. I am super disappointed with that bag of stew beef. The other one I actually cut myself, so they're really nice big chunks, how I remember them being, but we'll have to make do with this. This is gonna cook really fast. So to this cast iron pan, I am just adding quite a bit of butter, because I'm really wanting to fry these really good. And on my mom's recipe, it actually calls for 2 tablespoons of shortening, and that's what you would put into here. Just wait for that to get melted. I think I'm gonna have to cut this stew beef up a little bit to kind of like be able, because I don't want some stew beef to be overcooked and others not to be, so I'm gonna have to cut that stuff up to kind of go with this. But before I do that, I'm actually just gonna cut this onion. And I am cutting them up into big chunks because Stephen does not like onion. I am going to save the tops and the bottoms because I use that when I make stock. Okay, so this is nice and boiling now. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. I'm gonna add to this. And I'm just trying to sear these on either side. So I keep a bag of vegetable scraps in my freezer, and this is what I use to make my beef and chicken stock with. Perfect. Zero waste. Okay, so I've cut up some onions. This is 1 onion, it's that onion I showed you guys. I also got out this large enamel pan. I don't know how many quarts it is. It's a pretty big pan. So I got that out. I had some stewing beef that was already done, but we need to cut up that other one, that other package of stewing beef I have, because I wasn't anticipating those to be that small. And again, I kind of want them all to be cut the same size. Okay, same thing. We're gonna get some butter melted in here. I guess I could also have used this to brown the meat in. I didn't think about that ahead of time, but it would have saved me a pot, and then I would have gotten this amazing brown flavor. But we'll get it. I'll show you how we'll end up picking this flavor at the bottom up here. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna take my pieces and just brown them up. I'm not cooking the meat, I am just browning it. Searing it. That's the right word I'm looking for, is I want to get a sear on it. I think by doing this also, it leads to having a thicker soup, which is what I like. I like a very like gravy consistency in my stew. Not soup. Did I say soup? I meant stew. Okay, we're gonna get these kind of flipped over. These are almost ready to go into here. What I'm going to do while I wait that extra couple seconds is I am just going to add probably about 3 bay leaves to this pot here. And we are going to add approximately 6 cups of water to this also. I'm going to reserve about 1 cup. Okay, that's good. I don't want to overcook that. So we'll just put that into here. So I'm kind of going off the recipe a little bit because I did not brown the meat in here. So with this pan, I am going to add that cup of water. And I am going to add 2, now this is in the recipe, it calls for 2 beef bouillon cubes, but I'm using this, this stuff, which I'm not a super fan of because I have to keep it in the fridge. I really am trying to find a organic dry beef granules, but I can't find them anywhere. I wish I had a freeze dryer because I could just freeze dry my broth, and then I would have that I could use as a bouillon cube, but I don't. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna heat this up, and we're just gonna get all of the brown bits at the bottom of this pan, because that is really good flavoring, and I don't want my stew to not have that in there. So we'll just get the brown bits up, and then we will pour it into here. Also, that 1 onion we chopped up, we're gonna put in here. Now the rest of the vegetables, we wait until this has been cooking for probably about 3 hours. We wait to add those because we don't want them to be like completely mushy. We want them to have some texture to them. So we wait until the last hour to add those. So, but I am adding the onions because I do want them to be fairly mushy, and I really want it to incorporate that flavor. Okay, so that's good. We're gonna stir this into here. I might get a little bit more water in there. Oh, turn the burner off also. Just trying to get these bits up. Let's transfer this over to here. You know what? I might actually add the celery at this point as well, because it does call for 1 cup of celery, because I do want that to be fairly mushy and not too crunchy. Okay, so I think I'm gonna add the celery to this point. I have it sitting at about a medium. I am using frozen celery, so it's gonna cause the temperature to drop in this stew, but that's fine. So it calls for 1 cup of celery, but because these are a little bit more, that's way too big of a piece, I'm gonna take that out. I'm probably just gonna use about, I don't know, half a cup. This is just celery from my garden, and it did not get very big. I'm gonna really try this year to get my celery better. This was kind of my first year really growing it. So this year, because we were in the new year, this year I'm really gonna try to focus on getting it planted in a really good spot that has a lot more water. So I think I'm gonna plant it in the back garden because it has, the water table is a little higher in the back garden, and celery needs a lot of water. So I'm gonna really, I think this year's celery is gonna be one of my big focuses. And I really wanna just eliminate that completely off of my buying at a grocery store. Okay, so we have everything in here that we need to have in here at this point. So what we're gonna do is we are just going to cover it up, and it says to let it simmer for 2 hours. So we'll come back and we'll check it in 2 hours, and then maybe give it a little stir. And then at that point, you are going to add in your remaining ingredients. So you are going to add in turnips if you have them, but we don't have turnips, unfortunately. I love turnips, and I'm sad we don't have any, but you would add turnips, you would add 3 medium potatoes, 4 carrots, 1 green pepper. So we're gonna add carrots, we're gonna We're gonna do a can of canned potatoes in here also and see how it goes. We'll cut up the other ones, but we'll use both. And then we're going to use some frozen carrots and some actually, we'll use the baby carrots. I have a bunch of baby carrots in my fridge that are going bad, so we'll put those in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, okay, we'll come back and check this in 2 hours. Oh, I also want to show you guys this cool thing. So we are on day 3 and look at my sprouts. These are the crimson clover ones. So we're gonna do a quick rinse on them. I might as well do it with you guys right now. So I want cold water. Ideally you shouldn't use tap water for this, but it's fine. You want cold water. You can just kind of doing this with it, switching it around and draining it. I do this a couple of times. Switch it and then drain it. And now it's good for 6. Yeah, look at them. Isn't that so cool? And these ones are my mung beans. I don't know if you can see, it's trying to focus, but they're starting to sprout also. That's all I do for those. Every single day I'll come and do that. So yeah, I will see you guys in a couple hours when we come and check on that stew. So it's been more than a couple hours. It's 3:30 right now. So it's been maybe about 3 hours. So I'm just gonna give this a stir. I did come down, I've just been upstairs doing computer work, and I did come down and add a little bit of salt to it because I gave it a little bit of a taste test and it definitely needed salt. So I added, I would say maybe a teaspoon of salt to it. So it tastes way better now. So what we're gonna do, because we're at that point, we are gonna get our vegetables added to it. I wanna show you guys what I'm dealing with when I say I'm kind of going back and forth about whether to get fresh produce. This is my first produce. So we're gonna use these today, but I have a kohlrabi in here, and I have some kale and some cilantro that I picked before the freeze, and then I have a bag of apples that I was saying I wanted to make the fruit leather one. That's why I was kind of hemming and hawing about allowing myself some grace with this challenge to go and get fresh produce from the farmer's market. But like I said, I really want to focus on getting my frozen vegetables used up out that are in my freezer. So we have 3 little potatoes, and that is all. I did not order any more from my Azure standard because, like I had said, I think it was a video a while back, that I actually want to try to be forced to use my canned potatoes, which now I am going to, because I also ordered instant mashed potatoes and they were out of stock. So now I am definitely being forced to use my canned potatoes. So we have these. I am thinking that I don't know how a sweet potato would taste in this. I don't know if I should add it or not. I don't think I'm gonna add it. I was gonna add a sweet potato to it, but I think we'll add these baby carrots. I am just gonna slice the baby carrots in half. We'll get these tiny little things peeled up. Let's go and grab a can of these potatoes. What I'm doing right now is I'm just checking the dates because I have 2 different dates in here. I want to use the one that needs to get used up first. So grab 1 can of these. I would normally add some green beans into this, but Steven does not like green beans, so I'm not going to put it in. The recipe also calls to add green pepper, but I'm not going to add that in either, just because I personally don't want green pepper in there. So carrots and potatoes is what it's going to be. trying to think. We already got the celery in there. We already got the onions in there. So yeah, just carrots and potatoes is what's left to add to it. So let's get these in. I am actually going to get these rinsed first though, because with canned potatoes, you always have to rinse them because the starch kind of stays on it, and you want to rinse that starch off so that it makes them not taste so bad. So let's get these rinsed off. Actually, we're going to rinse these carrots off first and get these carrots chopped up, just because they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. So we'll get those put in right away. I think all I'm just going to do is like maybe cut them in threes. Look at this carrot. So fun. Oh, I completely forgot to tell you guys how that tamale pie ended up turning out. So I did that video that you guys seen. I put it out on Monday, and the tamale pie was a disappointment. It was really mushy, kind of like, it honestly looked like mushy dog food. It wasn't the best recipe, so like I was saying at the end of that one video, I'm so disappointed in that because I love crock pot meals. I love that they're just easy just to throw on the stove or throw in the crock pot and just kind of leave it and it doesn't stink. And then you have the freedom to do stuff throughout the day. So I was so disappointed that it didn't turn out well. But I mean, I do love that book, that recipe book though. It was the Fix It and Forget It book. I do absolutely love it because there are quite a bit of other recipes in there that I like. For example, tomorrow night we're making a white chicken chili with that. So, but you will see that in an upcoming video. Let's get these put into the stew pot here. And I didn't realize that the bottom of this pot is a very thin pot, and so it keeps sticking to the bottom. It is not a heavy bottom one, which is weird because it's an enamel one, but I think it's because it is a vintage enamel one, so it doesn't, I don't know, it's just not as thick. So it is kind of, I have to kind of keep coming and stirring it so it doesn't burn. Okay, so let's get these potatoes all peeled up now. These definitely needed to get used. They're soft. I'm interested to find out what everybody else usually puts in their stew. You can leave a comment below. I love suggestions because normally we just have like the turnip, the potatoes, and the carrots. It's kind of the standard stew stuff that we put in ours. I really wish Stephen liked green beans because I think they would go so well in that, but oh well. I am going to cut these fairly large, just probably quarter them because they are small. Oh, I put the lid back on that, so we'll just put them in the bowl for now. Okay, let's get these potatoes rinsed off. This could be a bad idea mixing canned with uncanned, but experimenting. Okay, we'll stir these in. I'm really tempted to add another can of potatoes in here, but I think it's fine. We'll just leave it at that. So I have the burner on low, and so we're just gonna leave this for another hour just to simmer. Now, if I come back and I find that it's not thick enough, because I really love a thick soup, I will just add a little bit of a flour water mixture to it, just to like a flour water slurry, just to thicken it up a bit. But we will let this cook for another hour. So I will see you guys back when it is ready. Okay, so it is good. The carrots are still a little tiny bit, they're not mush. So, but that's fine. So I am going to thicken this up just a little bit. And again, I am so discouraged because it is sticking to the bottom, and it is because it is this particular pan. I really wish I would have used a thicker pan, but it is what it is. You know what, the other thing I realized? I should have put thyme in this. I completely forgot to put that type of seasoning in. Thyme would have added such a good flavor to it. I have seen different beef recipes where people add like red wine to it and other things. This is just the recipe that I just remember having growing up. So that's why I didn't add any wine or anything, but definitely thyme. I can't believe I didn't add that. So I just have some flour here and a little kind of cup here. It came with my immersion blender. It's just a little plastic container. I'm just going to quickly whip up the flour mixture just to try to thicken this up just a little bit. I don't want it too thick. So I'm gonna add some water to this. Just kind of stirring it to get the flour all incorporated, and then I'm gonna shake it. This is not the best container to be using for this. My salad dressing container would have been better, but it's got salad dressing in it. Probably won't end up adding all of this. So I'm just gonna slowly pour it in. I might turn the heat up just a bit. The other thing I'm doing is just picking out the bay leaves. Those are not a fun surprise to get. I think we added 3 in here. There we go. If there's any more, then that person gets a surprise. All right, so here is our stew. I'm excited. And because the pieces were so small, it's like all shredded in here, which kind of more like a soup. And then we have our fresh bread that we made. It's time for me to go and enjoy my supper. I am really looking forward to it. I have not had beef stew in a very long time. I did actually can some, but it turned out to be really liquidy and the meat was like super overcooked, so I was disappointed. But so now we have this stuff and hopefully it's as yummy as it looks. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.